Ahoy, ladies and gentlemen. How are you doing? Here I am. How's life? Everything all right? Welcome to the BBC Spews Live. It's the 3rd of August. Huzzah! Right then. Loads of good stuff to talk about because the world's gone completely tonto. Nice one. Easy to do my job. Piece of cake. Don't need a script. Don't need to sit down in a writer's room like all the professionals do and have 25 people give them jokes. No, you just have to read the BBC News website and the lunacy pours out and it writes itself. It's comedy gold. Comedy gold living in the world we're living in today, when up is down and left is right, and Elizabeth Warren is Native American, and George Floyd is a hero among men. Yeah, crazy. And Huw Edwards is a fine, upstanding gentleman who definitely didn't make some truly disturbing images all of his own, proving me right and Owen Jones wrong again. My nemesis. I told you once, didn't I? I said to my missus a few years ago, oh, my nemesis, Owen Jones. She was like, normal people don't have a nemesis. I was like, oh, well, I do. He's a little sparrow-boned soy boy. And he's always wrong. How do you get to be a columnist with a media presence and he gets invited on the telly and that when he's just wrong all the time? A Chinese Rolex is more right than Owen Jones. Anyway, who's in? Crikey, 300 of you already. Well, I can't name drop everyone. Just the important people that joined the channel. Ambs, how you doing? How are you? Professor Andy's in as well. Testy, Mr. Myrtle, now then. Denise, Anthony Kirkwood, all's well in the northeast. AV, now then, Louise Owen, how are you? Peter Atkinson, and everybody else who I haven't got time for because there's bloody hundreds of you these days. Take some solace from the fact that you were cool and you were in early, right? Most of you guys have been here for ages. Sniper Sight, now then, and Jamie Armstrong asked for a name drop, so he gets one anyway. What can I say? I'm a big, soft bugger. Right, what should we talk about? Which of the many pieces of abject lunacy that I've covered this week should we have a crack about? First things first, right? I suppose we'll deal with the big story, which, look at that, right? Homepage of the UK. That's the whole thing. I can zoom out and show you, look. Homepage of the UK politics on the BBC. It's all over. Do you think that's all that's happened? Like, the top 2 stories, top 1 if you zoomed in, top 2 if you zoom out, is BBC's been a bit of chew. I'll just ask you a basic question, just off the face of it. How many people lost their lives in this bit of chew in Sunderland? It looks to me like all I managed to find was a couple of burnt out cars in the burnt out wheelie bin, and maybe it's a bit of bother. Cast your minds back to when, let me just lay this all out for you because it really does blow my mind. Like, you have to be crazy to not think about this stuff. I can't believe that we're living in a world where people believe in the things they believe with such religious fervour that they can't bring themselves to question it. Like, I was telling my missus this, we were having breakfast this morning, I was talking to her about a mate who was mega into the climate. And I said, I like the climate, like me and my missus, because we live Spartan lifestyles. We're just lucky enough to be well put together. And we live Spartan lifestyles, so we don't waste anything. We never waste food. We rarely eat out. I wash everything by hand and walk all over the place. We don't use the car unless we really need to. We use public transport. Like, we care about the environment. And every single thing the government does is wrong. But because people have got no ability to critical think anymore, nobody's talking about it. It came up because I got a nice posh bottle of milk. I treated myself to a posh bottle of milk the other week. It's a nice posh glass bottle. I said, I'll keep this and I'm going to pour milk in it because I like glass. For some reason, milk tastes better when it's glass. I don't know why. Better out than out of plaggy. Probably because I remember it as a bairn, getting proper milk delivered to the house. And I said, there's something they could do. They could just say to everyone, right, from now on, no more milk in a plastic carton. From now on, you sell your milk in a glass bottle and you reuse it. Easy. And you could, give an incentive financially, like 20 pence for every empty you get given back or something. And overnight, they'd save like millions of tons of plastic because everyone would start doing it. But instead of doing something that we know works, because seriously, like that glass bottle, I'll use that for the next 25 years. They'll probably dig that old glass bottle out of the fridge and throw it in the wheelie bin after my corpse when my ungrateful nephews, because I'm probably not going to have kids of my own, my ungrateful nephews come to steal all my shit that's worth anything and throw everything else in the bin. And that's just an obvious thing that works. And yet for some reason, and this is just someone in the chat tell me if I'm getting this wrong, because I just can't believe it's not being talked about daily. Every country in the Western world is doing climate initiatives where they stop digging for oil, like here, or they stop fracking in England. And then they say, we've saved carbon. Ooh, we've lowered our emissions. And then, it literally is this simple. They buy the oil, the gas, the petroleum, whatever it is they need, off the Chinese or the Indians or the Russians or what have you. And then hundreds of men, think of the energy, have to get all of those millions and millions of gallons of liquid or gas or petrol or whatever, and then drive it on, load it onto trucks with fork trucks, drive the trucks to the harbours, fork truck the billions of tons of stuff onto the ships, sail the ships around the world, deliver them to the places, drive them to the other places, and then we use it and we go, we've lowered emissions there. And I don't get it. And she's got a friend who's like a proper climate activist. And he's a nice bloke and he's otherwise intelligent. And I'm saying to her, because she tells me, do not bring politics up. Whenever we go for a meal with him, I'm banned from being my usual argumentative self. I was saying he seems like a reasonable bloke. Like, I just want to look him in the eye and say to him, I'm not having a pop. I'm not doing politics. I'm not going to start on Trump, Biden, anything. I just want you to tell me how does it work if we stop the Keystone Pipeline in America, but then we buy and ship and drill all the stuff we need from China? How does it not make more carbon? Like, it frustrates me so much because, like, the logic part of my brain goes, I don't get it. I don't get it. Like, can anyone explain that to me in easy terms? Or is it as simple as I think it is? And therefore, every single thing our governments do is making far more carbon in the world, innit? Because if you just got the carbon out the ground in Middlesbrough and then we used it, fracking, for say natural gas, wouldn't that be way less than just making the Russians dig it up and then flying it over? Or, sailing it or driving it over? Like, I just don't fucking understand how no one's talking about it. So that blew my mind. And anyway, this is what I'm going to get to. This is where I'm getting to. Same old crap. So this says the writers using stab victims for a sickening agenda, right? So they're going mental about this. It's more of the same, totally irrational, totally logical. I can't get my head around it. So they're going mental about this because nobody got killed. Nobody got killed at all, right? And if you cast your minds back, when the career criminal held a gun to a pregnant woman's stomach, dirty, thieving, scruffy, mentally ill, horrible, slimy oxygen thief, Mr. Floyd, we'll just say that. When he expired due to drug abuse, definitely wasn't murder. Logic dictates it, science dictates it, medical science, evidence, the autopsy, everything dictates that it definitely wasn't murder. When that career scumbag, thief, crook, liar, cheat, everything, the most immoral, lower than a snake's belly, lower than a rattlesnake's ball sack, whatever you want to call him, when Mr. Floyd lost his life, there was a mob of hundreds of swarthy gentlemen. We'll just say that. You got to watch what you're doing on this platform. There was a mob of hundreds of that fella who had a crack with Tom Hanks in Captain Phillips. There was a mob of hundreds of them looting destroying, wrecking the capital city in England, even though it's thousands of miles away, had nothing to do with any of it. In a foreign country, a career criminal loses his life. And then, did you remember the footage? Because I remember covering it with you lot. There was one bit where a policewoman got hospitalised because all of these George Weah, Jimmy Floyd Hasselbank types. I have to just use constant euphemisms now to try not to fall foul of the YouTube censors. So when Jimmy Floyd Hasselbank, George Weah and Didier Drogba were throwing missiles at the police, there was one where this policewoman was on a horse and the brick hit her horse in the face. So she smashed straight into a sign, like galloping at like 30 miles an hour on a horse going full pelt, and then flew out of the saddle and definitely ended up in hospital. And nobody cared. Nobody cared. This was as a result of a foreign career criminal finally getting his comeuppance and dying because he took too many drugs. And nothing happened and nobody cared and there wasn't a big fuss made about it. And now you've got a bunch of blokes responding not to the mild annoyance at a career criminal getting killed, but children. And I just don't get it. Bob Hunter, the vastness and beauty of the universe and the billions of twinkling stars and climate change. Kim Johnston's yeah, they don't really compare to for majesty, no matter what the BBC says. But isn't it mental? Isn't it mental? So these lads have got upset because, funny old thing, it's a little bit upsetting when little girls undergo an emergency surgical procedure in the middle of a dance class at the hands of a bloke who looks like Captain Phillips, right? So this is as mind-boggling as the climate thing. Like when I say to an NPC, calmly and rationally, I'm not having a pop, I'm not having a go. Explain to me why getting gas out the ground in Middlesbrough and then using the gas is worse for the environment than Chinese people digging the gas up, getting the gas onto a ship, sailing it 5,000 miles, driving it on trucks to Middlesbrough and then using the gas. Tell me how that is better for the planet. The same thing goes through my head when I see this. I can't grasp it. I don't know whether you have to be like mentally ill or in a cult. You know, like back in the day when I was a chippy atheist, when I was a young lad, and I used to say like proper Baptist preachers were like in a cult to me, because when you used to show them evidence like the fossil record or dinosaur bones, they'd say stuff like, oh, that doesn't prove anything. And you'd go, how does it not prove anything? Like dinosaur bones prove there was dinosaurs. And they'd go, yeah, a few old bones doesn't prove anything. And I'd laugh and go, haha, a few old bones doesn't prove anything. They do this now. Like you talk to them about carbon stuff and you talk to them about this and you try to juxtapose them and they don't get it. And I just do not understand. Like, because I'm not, and I've never been a religious zealot, I can't get my head around it, but you've got to be mentally ill, is all I can say. Like, if you're more bothered about the fact that lads got upset because sweet innocent, and you know me, I'm not a sentimental man, I am a house brick with a face. If you want to talk about my emotional range, that's it. Anger and house brick. I'm not an emotional or sentimental person. But even I got touched when I saw the pictures of those three lasses. It's awful. And it makes you so angry. It makes you think, of course something's gone wrong. I was apoplectic with rage. And I don't even live there anymore. I was just reading about it. Imagine if you live near them. You don't even have to be close to them. Imagine if you just see them every now and then. You're like a normal middle-aged man. And kids, unless you're like Huw Edwards and you're just a total degenerate, pervert, and everyone sticks up for you at the BBC and you're pure evil and Owen Jones and sociopaths with no morals at all Unless you're like them and you're mental. There's something touching about little kids, even miserable old buggers like me and me dad. When a 5-year-old girl says, "Hello, mister," you go, "Hello, love." Like there's something in you that says, be nice to the innocent children. I'm a rough and tumble fella, but I'm soft with little kids. You know what I mean? I'm always like, "All right, Ben, how you doing?" You know, it's just in me. Because we're an evolved chimp and we look after the youngest in our society because we're like tribal animals. And I go from being a rough, sweary sailor to a softy when I see a little kid. I always say, "Hello, bonny lass, how you doing?" Scrub their head, and that's me. So it's understandable why they went a little bit mental when 3 little girls and the faces are all over the news and they get killed by a Rwandan. It's understandable why they're angry. And yet the powers that be make out as if that's totally, they can't get that. They can't get that. No, it doesn't compute. They're angry enough to punch a copper just from seeing little girls like get knifed in the face by Rwanda. Yeah, they are. And if your brain works properly, that's understandable and normal. I totally understand it. I have a normal empathic brain and I see the little girl's picture and I see the Rwandan and I see the coppers who are in on it and I get very, 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 very angry. And what I don't get when I see a picture of George, bloody, manky, scruffy, smelly, thieving, dirty, felon, horrible, horrible bastard, Floyd, I don't see his picture and go, "Oh, we need a day of rage, a global day of rage." Like, please, someone make it make sense. If being against the slaughter of... I'm trying to avoid full sentences at this point because I'm worried about YouTube. Extreme wrong. 100%. As I said, I really don't get it. Where is the king? Yeah, well, don't get me started on that jug-eared, sausage-fingered buffoon with appalling tasting women. Don't get me. I told Paula this last time I was on hers. I have had it with these people. Like, they've managed to turn me into... I was a reluctant monarchist because I was a small C conservative. I just thought I don't particularly like the royal family. Like, I'm a man. I'm not an old pensioner that collects the plates. But I was like, I'm a reluctant monarchist because it's worked all right for the last 1,000 years. Just keep it how it is. They've successfully turned me into almost a Republican because I'm like, the gibbering, jug-eared, sausage-fingered king is a file of everybody's favourite prophet. Not a pedo one. That's Huw Edwards. He's an I file, isn't he? He loves it. He absolutely loves the golden bell end shaped churches. He's loads of times been on TV and been like, "Oh yeah, this is brilliant. This is brilliant. This. I love this. I love all this praying." It's a shocking idea. Sausage Fingers needs to give his head a shake because he's just got no clue at all. And his missus is howling. I can't believe he binned Diana for that thing. She looks like Freddie Starr if he grew his hair out. That's I just don't know what he's thinking. So it's a crazy, crazy time to be alive. And the last week has proved it. The last week's been mental. Just this every single day. It's even turned me against Andy. I like the mayor of Middlesbrough, the former mayor of Middlesbrough. It's even sort of turned me against him because he's been doing it, just talking about this all the time. And I was like, you didn't tweet about it for a week when this looted a load of Nike shops and robbed a load of... They just used it for robbery. These lads in Sunderland didn't loot a Nike store, did they? They just had to go at the coppers. At least that's understandable. Looting a Nike store's just theft. Just dirty, low-life, debased theft. You're not doing it for ideological reasons. You're just a dirty thief. Richard Wesley have some 8 Ace on me. Tragically, I can't get 8 Ace out here, but they do a nice alternative called Old English. So yeah, cheers. I'll have some of that. I think it's cheaper than 8 Ace. In America, you get to keep a little bit more of your money. I think Old English is cheaper than 8 Ace. God bless America. Did Camilla eat if she ate hamster, she did it like that lizard on V, just like whole thing went down. She didn't like, if I had to eat a hamster, I'd sort of like shave it, skin it, debone it, and then, try and make like a hamster fillet. But Camilla's just gone, and they went, and coughed up the skeleton in a water. Yeah, it's mental. It's a mental time to be alive. So, it's been in the news all week. I'm not going to bore you by reading this BBC drivel. Drivel. Sickening, appalling. Yeah, you didn't say that when a career criminal got his comeuppance in America and a load of Didier Drogba's went on a rampage in Manchester and Leeds and London and Birmingham, Alabad. I'd send me back to Afghanistan, seriously. If I had to choose between doing another 6-month deployment in Helmand province or briefly going for a stroll through Birmingham Yardley, I would definitely pick the sandbox. It's an absolute dive. And I do take some solace from that, because Jess Phillips is going to have a short, sharp shock very soon. I'll talk about her momentarily. Let's do this one. So I've already covered this. I don't want to keep repeating myself. I pray that I've made the logical case, right? Getting outraged at police about children is understandable. Getting outraged at Nike Air Max because a career criminal in a foreign country gets killed is not understandable. But the latter was excused and ignored and tolerated, and the former is crushed like 1984 George Orwell iron-shod boots on your windpipe. So it's crazy. It's all part of the plan. You all get it. Look at this one. This is related to the two-tier policing. My mate in the Met sent me this. The Bootneck is now popular enough that he's got hidden moles across all organisations. My mole in the Met sent me this. A police liaison officer. So what they do is, you don't get a liaison officer when you're just a gutter snipe who lives in the sink estate in Middlesbrough, because they just think you're total detestable scum. But if you are a goat humping, cousin shagging illiterate from one of the worst parts of planet Earth, what they do is they get you a police liaison officer, and these people actually think. What we'll do is, if we get them a police liaison officer and we let them, we put Lenny Henry on the telly a bit, in a few years' time, they'll all be like Jacob Rees-Mogg. I mean, it's hilarious. It's hilarious to even think about it, but that's what goes through the minds. As I've told you, they honestly act like they're going to jump off the boat, out the back of the tomato wagon or the bathtub at Folkestone, and they're going to be there with a machete, and they'll be like, you do not be talking to me, and then they jump off the bathtub, and as soon as the sandals touch the sand, they go, ew. Oh, I say, Jeffrey, another cup of Earl Grey, if you please. What? This is weird. And his mates behind him going, what are you talking about? We are going to commit the war. And then they jump off and he touches the sand and he goes, oh, I say, you're terribly right, Tarquin. Shall we go to Savile Row and get a nice tweed suit? Magic soil. They actually think this is going to work. So the reason they get police liaison officers, because this is what they think, if they just go softly and they put Lenny Henry in the telly, and they put a few unfunny Asian comedians on Channel 4, they think they'll go from Richard Reed to Jacob Rees-Mogg in 2 years. So essentially, I've had this explained to me, that's what a police liaison officer does. If you're from a group that the powers that be care about, they give you a liaison officer and they think, oh, this will make them love the police, right? This guy then is a public servant paid by you to work alongside the police. And what he seems to be doing is liaising seems to be a synonym for, I'm going to tell you all how to avoid being prosecuted for committing appalling crimes. Right? That should say that on the back of his vest, but it's a little bit too long. Imagine him blue and white on the back of his vest. I'm going to tell you lads, I'm going to tell Alan's lads how to get away with committing appalling crimes. Yes, like grooming and also exploding shoes. Look at what this bloke says to them. Yeah, I'm not making it up. Can we get it bigger? Oh, it's a bit crap. Anyway.
a large group of Harry Town Centre, we're getting a number of what's called.
يا شيخ سيبة توشيكا.
So I want to work with you guys for the best solution. The best solution I think is small groups, the EDL lot have been assured, have been left. The police have been safeguarding the shipping site. We've been going all around Harry Town Centre looking after the community, because it's the community that matters. It's the community that we're here for. So,
بجيبة توتير لي شوان.
See in there. So basically, what's happening is the British government is paying blokes to rock up in the areas where all the Joe Dackies hang out and tell them, hey lads, hide your meat cleavers in the local bell end shaped church, will you? It's whoa, you can't walk around with that. Look at him. He's got like it looks like he's got a 12 gauge from here. It's probably a sword or a machete or a meat cleaver or something. Anyway, so they're there going, yeah, hey lads, before you go anywhere, make sure you hide all of your AK-47s in the bell end shaped church. Yeah. Peter Atkinson, the way this government is going, people will be getting dragged to room 101 and 100%. 100%. I've been saying this to you lot for years, and the last week's proved it. The last week has proved it. Beyond any shadow of a doubt. You will get nicked. We watched a 74-year-old woman. If you didn't watch that video I made earlier in the week, we watched a 74-year-old woman who has never, ever been in trouble with the law getting marched off, frog marched in a copper lock. You know, a copper lock where next thing, they put your hand behind your back and the next thing you tickle in the back of your own head. Copper lock, a 74-year-old woman who's never, ever been arrested. But they employ someone to turn up with a bunch of blokes, an angry mob, several of them have got meat cleavers and machetes, and say, hey lads, watch what you're doing. We don't want any of you to get in trouble. Like, can you argue the toss when we've got the video evidence now? And at least there's 1,000 people watching this because, as I said, the BBC is purposely, the British government, the commie activists that run the United Kingdom now, are purposely hiding this from you. The 74-year-old woman gets copper locked, but the young fighting age man with the machete gets a polite talking to. Hey, go on, hide that. Put that under your prayer mat, mate. Cheers then. Yeah, I'll tell you, just put that under the pillow that you use to roger the 8-year-old girls on. That, you know, that nasty urine-soaked mattress that you roger the 8-year-old girls on, that the British coppers caught you doing and turned a blind eye and just went to give people speeding tickets instead. Yeah, hide it under that dirty mattress that you use to gorilla shaft the birds on. Yeah, hide it under there and then you won't get in trouble. Unbelievable. Huw Edwards. All right, I suppose we have to do that, don't we? So let's have a look. Have the BBC covered it? Probably not. Let's have a look. The BBC don't want to cover that, do they? Surely not. Let's have a look. UK News. The dirty, dirty rats are. Look, and it's still on the UK homepage. Violent disorder. Shut up, Yvette, you absolute raddled spunk bowser. The Rows are doing well. Well, that's my bet gone because I told Rags and Jacks that they'd have a shit year. Well, you can't have everything. Yeah, nothing here about Huw, is there? Nothing here about Huw. Nothing on the homepage. Typical. Oh, look, let's talk about the ugly dog. Oh, nice one. You've successfully convinced me. Yeah, who cares about the BBC's systematic, unending, century-long abuse of youths while the BBC covers up for them? Let's forget about all that, because he is an ugly dog. How daft do you think I am? Fat controller. I don't know who runs the BBC now. I forget, they go through him, don't they? But we'll just call him the fat controller. Bob Hunter's moving from Scotland to French Guiana to raise pigs. Yeah. Feed him to the pigs, Errol. That's what we should be doing with these Rwandan knife men. Feed him to the pigs, Errol. So there's nothing on here. I'm going to have to, you know what I'm going to have to do? I'm going to have to go to the search bar, aren't I? Huw. Surely something about Huw. It is spelt wrong, isn't it, like that? No? Is that, am I not spelling that right? Let me have a look. Huw Edwards. Oh, it's a U. It's a U. I'll give the BBC a second chance then. Maybe it was because I was spelling it wrong. There we go. There we go. You're after luck, though, aren't you? You're after luck. Huw Edwards admits to having a copy of 101 Choir Boy Arseholes under his pillow. I don't know where I saw that. I think I saw that book in the Viz, like so many of my jokes. I'm sure it was in an issue with Big Vern or something, where he gets locked in the cell with all the scary inferior protection types. And one of them's got a book on his shelf and it says 101 Choir Boy Arseholes. Honestly, this is unbelievable, right? It's way worse than you thought it was going to be, because I thought the BBC was just covering for him because he was like, flirting with a 15-year-old and some 50. I mean, it's still disgraceful. But as I've said, logic dictates this will get clipped. This Owen Jones, who defends these people, he'll clip it and go, here we see the Angry Bootneck defending buggery. No, what I'm saying is logic dictates that there is a difference between a 15-year-old and like a 6-year-old, right? I thought it was just like Huw was just being a filthy, degenerate, pension-age pervert. She's simply a dirty, horrible pervert if you're a 60-year-old man chasing a 15-year-old lad. But I thought that's all that was going on. But when you read it, he was making it. And I listened to the World Service today while I was washing the pots, and one of them said it was the majority of the images were of teenagers, but some of them were of 12 and 11-year-olds, and one of them was about 8 or something. Like, it was shocking. So, full-blown Gary Glitter, Jimmy Savile stuff. This dirty, horrible, lying sack of rats has been involved in. And the BBC covered it up, kept paying him when they knew what he'd been up to, and looked out for him the whole time. So he is, I don't want to get into classifications because frankly, that is a rabbit hole I don't want to go down. I don't want to read about it. I don't want to know about it. But apparently there's classifications, and there is the hardcore, worst ever, full-blown degenerate, pistol whipping an 8-year-old and then forcing her to give him a gobble. Like the worst stuff imaginable. And Huw had that. So Huw wants 50 lashes. What we should do is we should send Huw shoplifting in that store that I made the video about and got a 2-week ban for. Do you remember where they're just lashing his ring piece with one of them like a 6-foot broom shank, just smashing his ring piece to bits. Although Huw would probably get off on that, wouldn't he? Yeah, who knows what he's into? He's probably into masochism. Huw would be the type they'd be smashing his ring piece to bits with a broom shank, and who would be like, ooh, he'd be tent pegging his pants while they were braying him. But you know what I'm saying? He should get the worst punishment imaginable. He should get the worst punishment imaginable. What's that? Buy yourself a posh bottle of milk before. I've already got 2, but thanks. I'll tell you what, I'll meet you halfway. I'll buy gin. How's that sound? What's this one? ITV just referred to a gang of machete wielders, community defenders. Well, that's what I loved about that one I did yesterday. Did you see that? They said, we can't release the names of these 12-year-olds who literally killed someone. We can't release the names of these 12-year-olds who hacked someone into 25 pieces. They just turned someone into dog food on the common. But we can't release their names because that would harm them. Ah, right. Yeah. We're worried about the harm being done to the machete-wielding psychopaths who turned people into dog meat. Why are we worrying about harm to them? I don't get it. It seems like they're not really in any risk of being harmed. Seems to me like the people getting reduced to pate we should be sort of worried about, but apparently not. Anyway, sent me off on a tangent there. So obviously this fella, there he is arriving in court. Look at him. I find their arrogance astounding. Like, half the time he's got like a shit-eating grin on his face, and it's like, mate, you're a full-blown, absolute walking toilet. Like, there is nothing worse. There is nothing worse. Is that, as I said, people think even murder is not as bad as the stuff that Hugh's been up to. And he's sauntering about there with a $2,000 suit on. Honestly, I can't believe the brass neck on these people. Thanks for the super sticker, Joe. I told you, I don't know what the crack is with them. I can't see them. I uploaded a load of imagery, so it's supposed to look cool, but I can't see them. Mental health and feels. Yeah, mental health. I'll tell you what. When I go mental, it's good for my health. That's the only thing I want to know about mental health. If I was to see Huw get hit by a forklift truck shortly as he was about to walk into the court, it would please me. Now, you can't advocate that type of stuff, but I reserve the right to laugh. So I keep telling you lot, this is why I'm so into the freedom of speech thing. I hate the way that these commie, authoritarian, fascist pricks have fully turned the world into an Orwell novel, because you can't tell me how I have to feel. Do you know what it reminds me of? What was that terrible film? Well, actually, it wasn't terrible. It was just another one of dozens of, like, 1984 clones. Basically, the totalitarian society is such a compelling story because everybody knows that we're always only one bad year away from falling into it. And there was one with him in it where he takes pills so you don't have any feelings anymore. What was it called? Equilibrium. That was it. Remember that film, Equilibrium? And it was another, like, sort of rip-off of the 1984 archetype. And the kids take pills so they don't have any emotions. And then they grass the kids up. They grass the parents up. And obviously that's based off a true story where they reckon some young lad in Russia, in Stalin's Russia, was vaunted for grassing his parents up. And this stuff's compelling because we all know we're only a couple of hours away from, this happening. And it's the thing where they're trying to regulate what you're allowed to think. Do you remember me sharing a story recently where they were prosecuting a bloke because he said, I can't wait for the president to curl his toes up? And I was like, how? How can you prosecute people for that? Is it not legal, perfectly legal for me to laugh when someone that I think is responsible for endless human suffering? I mean, let's just think of a good one. Tony Blair. Is it against the law for when Tony Blair, that inhuman destroyer of worlds, he definitely killed more people than Oppenheimer, Tony Blair, definitely. The misery and death and chaos that he brought to the world is staggering. You can't even quantify it. He killed, I'd say, tens of millions of people because of his actions in Iraq and Afghanistan, and then opening all the borders across Europe. He has just caused unending misery. You'd be talking about hundreds of thousands of little girls getting rogered like a copper's radio above kebab shops all across the Western world. You'd be talking about endless war, literally bombing babies, like the worst stuff imaginable. When Tony Blair finally curls his toes up, I reserve the right to laugh my arse off. And for some reason, they're basically trying to make that criminalised. Do you know what I mean? Weird that. But when Maggie Thatcher died and me and my missus went to the funeral, because I was working in York at the time, I just took a 3 days holiday so I could go, just because I wanted to wind up all the lefty Lib Dem voters who I worked with when I was living in York. I remember going in the morning and saying to your manager, like, can I have 3 days off? Why? I'm going to Thatcher's funeral. And he laughed. And all the Lib Dem wankers in the office were like, Told you the union rep, Scooter, He was this fat, specky, ginger Lib Dem. Oh, you've got to join the union. I haven't got to join the union, mate. How about you suck my festering left one? How does that sound? How about when you go on strike, I will be coming to work, and if you call me a scab, I'm going to point you out to the baton gunner and hope he shoots you in the face with a rubber bullet. So when I went to Thatcher's funeral, there was hundreds of them there picketing the funeral. That's very tolerant and liberal, isn't it? And they were saying, ding dong, the witch is dead. And all the commie scousers, hey, fucking hell, nice one. The witch is dead. That was fine. But they're getting to the point now where if you laugh when Tony Blair dies, they kick your front door off its hinges and roger you with a rolled up phone book. Yeah, cheers, that's fair, innit? Mega fair, that. Cheers, lads. It's a crazy time to be alive. I could do this all day. I'm not going to because I don't want to boy, but this is what I'm getting at. The hypocrisy of them is staggering. If Huw Edwards has a copy of 101 Choir Boy arseholes behind him while he's reading the 9 o'clock news, that's fine. But if they decided you're the enemy, Russell Brand springs to mind, and you had consensual sex with young lasses, and you've never, ever been prosecuted by anyone, despite the fact that the police have looked in here. And again, I'm not defending Russell Brand. I've got no massive sympathies for Russell Brand. He was a communist for about 11 years or so, wasn't he? But he didn't break the law. And yet, when Russell Brand didn't break the law, think of the difference, is what I'm trying to illustrate. The hypocrisy, the unending hypocrisy of the walk. Huw Edwards broke the law with the worst category, creating the worst category of images. Basically, he is a molester of children, right? And they defended him, and they stuck up for him, and they buried the stories, and they kept paying him. Russell Brand has never once been charged. They've said he's immoral. They've said he was in a position of authority and all these starstruck young girls, and he was 30 and they were 18 and he was drilling loads of them. And he's talked about it and said, I hold my hands up. It wasn't very good, but I was a young man. It was a big, gigantic washing machine full of money and tits, essentially, when you're a 20-something and you're suddenly thrust into the superstardom and you're in Hollywood movies. And he acted like a prick. But the difference between him and Huw Edwards is tangible. Huw Edwards is a monster. Huw Edwards should never see the light of day ever again. Huw Edwards should be sharing a cell with Ian Huntley, as far as I'm concerned. And don't give me this, oh yeah, there were only images. They said he created the images, and guess how you create the top category of images? Well, you do it by drilling kids. That's how you do it. So Huw Edwards should be sharing a cell with Ian Huntley. I don't care if he didn't kill anyone. He's that far away from drinking blood and rogering a baby. I don't care. And we know he's guilty and the photos are there. So I don't care about this liberal, wishy-washy hand-wringing, oh, but what about the rights? I couldn't give a monkey's fart. I've told you the death penalty needs to come back. And I think the general public support it at this point. The only reason they got rid of it, I mean, Nana used to tell me about this when I was a kid. My Nana told me when I was a bairn, the reason they got rid of it was because they put an innocent man to death. And I always remember my Nana saying to me, hey, it must be terrible though to get put to death for something you never done, son. And I said, you know what? Totally agree with that. Stuck with me that when I was only a kid. So I was always kind of against it in principle. But now, again, you get older and you get more sensible. Ko-Fi Streambot, don't even know where that come from, but thanks very much, Dangerous Doug. Why couldn't we just have a system in place whereby if modern technology makes it so it's irrefutable, you get both barrels, and if it isn't, it's just highly likely, you go to prison. I.e., Ian Huntley, thanks to modern technology, video evidence, genetic evidence, DNA, we know he did it. The two sloshing portaloos that lopped off Lee Rigby's napper in the middle of London are on video. We know they did it. Why are they still breathing? I mean, am I allowed to do this? This is probably highly against British English law. They love quoting English law when they're stomping on your throat. Why am I not allowed to voice that opinion? Why can't we have it to put to a referendum? If the vast majority of the general public support me having a GoPro on and being let into Michael Adewole's cell with a brick, why can't we make that happen? Now, that is a good argument. See, this is what I've said, though. This is why it has to be. There's got to be some system in place, an independently verifiable system, where if there's any even slight doubt, you just get the rest of your life in prison. But if it's nailed on scientific fact, you get both barrels. That seems reasonable to me. As I said, if it was down to me, Michael Adewale and that other scumbag who lopped off Lee Rigby's crust in the middle of London while surrounded by women and kids, they shouldn't be breathing. I think every day that they get fed and watered on my dime, it is an affront to me and all right-thinking people. They shouldn't still be here. They just don't. So I'd do it. I would recompense Mr. Rigby's family and son by having a Big Brother-style death match on television. And I'd have them competing in various demeaning games. And the one that manages to get to the end gets to live. But the rest of them slowly get voted off by the public. So it could be like, text Huntley to E816234. And then he's up next week. He's up next week. And then he's got to arm wrestle Michael Adewale. And whoever loses gets, I don't know, beep, boop, beep, beep, beep. Hello, Heather from Sunderland, you've won. I never win anything. It's grand to be on television and talk to you, Mr. Bootneck. Well done, you've won. What do you think we should be doing him in with this week? Ooh, well, it's so hard to decide. Like the old lady on The Running Man. Ooh, it's so hard to decide. I'll have what's behind door number B. Door number B. It's a chainsaw. Oh, yeah, okay, use that, Mr. Bootneck. Right you are, love. Vin, straight down the middle. Happy days. Put that on telly. Imagine how much money we'll make for the families. It'll be popular with the public. The advertisers will eat it up. Make loads of money in donations. That can go to the families. Save us a fortune on food, water, clothing and shelter for the criminal slime. There are no downsides as far as I can see. Yeah, that's what I mean. Like remember the old lady on Running Man? Killian gets some old lady down and she's like, ooh, I never win anything. Oh, I hope Dynamo rips his balls off. I love him. Like that. We should do it like that. Should do it like that. Or the Colosseum. Yeah, that'd work as well, Louise. I agree. But it is. I've had enough of these people. I've had enough of these wishy-washy lefties, and they're doing my head in. So there's that. What else should we look at? Should we go have a look at Twitter for a bit? I'm getting quite good at this. I'm like a BBC journalist, except, I don't have category A vile pornography on my hard drive. What else have we got? There's a good one. Look, Carl Benjamin. 8 people were arrested for a bloody machete riot in front of a seaside fun fair in Southend yesterday. But its headline news went for 12 hours when 50 chavs set a bin on fire. So I'm saying you can't make it up, can you? Yeah, that'd be good. Bullseye. Like, and when you get the booby prize, there's always a booby prize on Bullseye. You just get a statue. The booby prize could be like a really, really shit weapon. Like, for me, obviously, I'd be willing to put the effort in and do it. I'd do it every Friday for free. I wouldn't even take a salary. So, like, behind in 1, there's a baseball bat. In 2, a nice big hammer. And you can have me, like, instead of having a sexy woman, like, pointing and stuff, you can have, like, me on the stage with a hammer going, hey, like, smashing melons up just to show you what it'd do to a pedo's skull. In 2, this nice Stanley Claw. Yeah. And then it's like, oh no, you got the booby prize. It's a feather duster. And then I've got to try and end Michael Adewale with a feather duster. I don't know how I'd do that. I think what I'd do is I'd grab him by the head, pull his face back, and then smash it as far down his throat as I could possibly go. I reckon I could asphyxiate him with a feather duster. Probably be hard work. But great idea. I would be a free, a taxpayer-funded state executioner. I'll do that for now. Yeah, and Bully's special prize, it's an RPG. Made his life easier there, Ethel. Well done. So yeah, anyway, great that, innit? That's exactly what's gone on in the last few weeks. Just mass gaslighting by an authoritarian, evil, statist government who clearly have an evil agenda. If 5,000 Nigerian blokes loot 20 shops, do £10 million worth of damage. They even burnt down one of the oldest furniture stores in London, didn't it? It was like a beautiful old landmark that had been there for about 190 years or something. They burnt it to the ground. They looted dozens of shops. They did £100 million worth of damage. They probably hospitalised 200 coppers, killed a few police dogs, bricked a few dozen police horses, and that was all fine. That was all fine. In response to a career criminal getting killed in a foreign country. But when 50 white lads from Sunderland get annoyed because little girls are getting ended by Rwandans, they turn it into the headline news for a week. You couldn't make it up. You couldn't make it up. We are living in clown world and nothing makes sense anymore. But that's that. Shall I do one more? Let's see what's going on my Twitter this week. Gobbing off at Scout commies is one of the only things that brings me pleasure in this day and age. That's true. Elon Musk is a hero, definitely. If it wasn't for him, there's a good one. If it wasn't for him, the British government would still be covertly working with Facebook, Google and Twitter to cover up for the worst type of human scum imaginable. You couldn't make it up. Couldn't make that up, could you? Then they do this, completely pointless. The ship's already sailed and we're bringing in another 1,000 unvetted men every week. But I'll tell you what, we'll make Westminster pink. Oh, cheers, lads. Cheers, lads. I can sit in the ashes of my society watching my daughter get bumped to death by 25 Somalians, but at least I'll have a picture forever etched in my mind of a pink building. Do one. Do one. I couldn't give a monkey's fart about that shit. This is just more of the same bollocks. And I put pointless, illuminate them with shadow to signify all of the grooming gangs and rapists you imported. Yeah, do that. Do that. And yeah, that's that. Some sailor gobbing off. Oh, God, sailors. Oh, I promised I'd never wear my medals again. Shut up, sailor. What did you do? This guy was probably so far in the rear he had to send his laundry forwards. I'm not gay or bi. I'm an ally. What an absolute chiseler. Unfortunately, he hasn't blocked me or interacted with me, but I love arguing with sailors. What a wanker. Probably the only time he ever got off his boat in his entire life. What a twat. So yeah, he's a dickhead. I'm an ally. Yeah, the crazy idea that everyone should have rights. Suck my stump, Tim. How's that grab you? What else have we got? Oh yeah, this dickhead. I'll tell you what, I'll end with this. So he put total humiliation for protest organising in Liverpool. Only 30 or 40 turned up, many of them teenagers. Yeah, it's not total humiliation if less people turn up for your protest than you expected, first of all. Second of all, it was the day after, so he had the wrong day. Third of all, and this is the point I want to make before I leave, watch that Tony Romo documentary. Now, Tony Romo's got his flaws, but that guy, that Nick Lowles, is an absolute rattlesnake. Honestly, he is a rat with gegs on. Geggy, balding rat, man. He's like just a psychopath. Another one of these loony left, mentally ill. The means always justify the end. Scoop them all up and throw them in the gulags. True believer, this guy. Because he makes the point, like Tony Romo said, you try not to involve anyone's families or kids or anything. He said, this bloke, anyone he even slightly suspects of being right-wing, he just goes after them. He's like, yeah, get the kids, get the parents, smash the schools up. Like, the bloke is a lunatic and he should be in prison, but he won't be. He won't be, because we're living in cloud cuckoo land. So yeah, he's an absolute rat, him. What a weasel. Anyway, that's nearly an hour. You can have that for now, you twats. Thanks for tuning in, as always. I hope you enjoyed that. As I said, it's a public service at this point, right? You've got to laugh. It's the only thing you can do. If you don't laugh, you'll cry. My nana always said that, and it is definitely true, because the world's gone mental. The world's gone mental, and you just have to laugh. And we will get through it. No matter how bad things get, you come from generations of tough people. Stiff upper-lipped stoics that went and worked down the coal mines and lived through the Blitz. And we can handle it. We can handle whatever life throws at us. So just laugh at it. It's going to get worse, much worse. And life will get harder. But you can handle it. And sleep safe in the knowledge that you can. On some level, as I've talked about, it's almost better when life gets hard. Because when you get fat and soft, and you have too much Ben and Jerry's and you watch TV all day, you do get fat and soft. There's a lot comes from hardship. I got a lot out of the 5 tours I did. I never felt depressed when I was deployed because I got a lot out of it. Good for my body and good for my mind. It's going to get tough, but you can handle it. So don't worry too much. Keep your sense of humour. Keep laughing at the raving lunatics. And I'll see you all for a video on Monday. All right? Have a great weekend. Toodle pip. Cheers.